My fiancée insisted on wearing her ex's locket, saying, "It's a part of my history." I said, "History is important, so I made her part of mine." Her jaw dropped when I took back the engagement ring to put it in a family vault. I'm Hudson, 36, and I thought I'd learned my lessons about red flags after my divorce at 28. Apparently, I hadn't learned enough. When I proposed to Aria, 32, after 3 years of living together, everything seemed solid. We had a mortgage together, shared financial goals, and I'd even introduced her to my investment advisor. She knew about my first marriage, how Diana had slowly drained our joint account for her art projects that never materialized. I'd sworn I'd never ignore warning signs again. But love makes you stupid sometimes, even at 36. The thing about Aria was this silver locket she wore constantly. In 3 years of sharing a bed, a bathroom, a life, I'd never seen her without it. Not in the shower, not during our most intimate moments, never. When we first started dating, I asked about it casually. "Family heirloom?" she'd said, touching it protectively. Fair enough. We all have sentimental pieces. But 3 years in, planning a $15,000 wedding while splitting a $1,400 monthly mortgage payment, that mystery locket started feeling different. My brother Max had even commented on it last Christmas. "She ever take that thing off?" he'd asked, half joking. I'd brushed it off, but the question stuck. There had been other small things too. The way she'd quickly close her laptop when I entered the room. The defensive reactions when I asked about her day. The phone calls she'd take in the other room, claiming it was work. The truth came out last month during dinner with her sister Nicole and a few drinks in. Nicole, never the most tactful person sober, became downright careless after her third glass of wine. We were celebrating my recent promotion to senior project manager, and the mood was light. I was feeling good about our future, about the stability I could provide. "I still can't believe you wear Preston's locket everywhere," she said, cutting into her salmon with the precision of someone who'd had too much wine. The table went dead silent. Our friends Marcus and Jenny exchanged glances. Aria shot Nicole a look that could have killed a lesser person. I took a careful sip of my Cabernet and kept my expression neutral, but my stomach dropped like I'd just missed a step in the dark. "Preston?" I asked mildly, setting down my glass with deliberate care. Nicole, blissfully unaware of the landmine she'd just stepped on, continued with the enthusiasm of someone sharing juicy gossip. Her ex. They dated for like 5 years before he moved to Australia. He gave her that for their anniversary. What was it? Their third? Fourth? "Fourth," Aria said quietly, her face crimson. I felt something cold settle in my chest. 4 years of wearing another man's anniversary gift. 3 years of lying to me about its origin. I changed the subject to the weather, making small talk about the unusually warm October we were having. But inside I was processing, calculating. 3 years. 3 years of wearing another man's gift while building a life with me, signing mortgage papers, picking out wedding venues, meeting with wedding planners. The dinner ended early. Jenny complained of a headache, though I suspected she could sense the tension. Marcus offered to drive Nicole home, which was probably wise given her state. Aria was unusually quiet during the drive back to our house, staring out the passenger window at the familiar suburban streets. That night, I brought it up as calmly as I could manage. We were in our bedroom, getting ready for bed. The room we'd painted together last spring, where we'd hung the pictures from our vacation to Napa Valley. Everything felt different now, like I was seeing it through new eyes. "So the locket's from Preston?" She went defensive immediately, her shoulders tensing as she pulled off her earrings. "It's just jewelry, Hudson. It doesn't mean anything." "Jewelry you never take off, from an ex who dated you for 5 years. "Because I like it. It's pretty. I've had it for years." I kept my voice level, drawing on the communication skills I'd learned in therapy after my divorce. "Aria, you're wearing another man's anniversary gift 24/7 while we're planning our wedding. You can see why that might bother me, right?" That's when she exploded, whirling around to face me. "God, you're so insecure. It's just a necklace. Preston means nothing to me. Nothing." "Then take it off." "No, I shouldn't have to change who I am because of your jealousy." The irony wasn't lost on me. After my divorce, I'd spent 2 years in therapy learning about healthy boundaries, about recognizing manipulation tactics. Wearing your ex's jewelry isn't who you are, Aria. It's a choice, one that feels disrespectful to our relationship. It's part of my history, My past made me who I am. You can't just erase that. I'm not asking you to erase anything. I'm asking you to not wear his anniversary gift around your neck every single day of our engagement. This is controlling behavior, Hudson, major red flag. I actually laughed, a bitter sound that surprised us both. Me asking my fiancée not to wear her ex's locket is controlling. What would you call refusing to take it off? Self-respect. I won't be manipulated into changing myself. We went in circles for over an hour. She absolutely refused to remove it, becoming more agitated and defensive with each exchange. Said if I loved her, I'd accept her whole history. She brought up my past, how I'd been damaged by my divorce, how I was projecting my insecurities onto her. Classic deflection tactics that Diana had used. Finally, I agreed. The words came out calm, measured. "You're right," I said, sitting on the edge of our bed, looking at her in the mirror as she brushed her hair. "History is important. I shouldn't ask you to change that." She looked shocked but pleased, turning to face me with relief washing over her features. "Really? You understand?" "Completely. History shapes us. It makes us who we are." She thought she'd won, but I'd already decided what I was going to do. The next morning, I called my mom while Aria was at her Pilates class. "Hey, remember Great Aunt Lucille's jewelry collection in the safety deposit box?" "Of course. Why?" "I need to access it. Want to put Aria's engagement ring with the family pieces for safekeeping." There was a pause. My mother, retired from 30 years of teaching high school, had developed a keen sense for when something was off. "That's unusual. Is everything okay?" "Just thinking about family history, you know, traditions." She didn't press, but I could hear the concern in her voice when she gave me the bank info. I'd had signing authority since I was supposed to inherit some pieces anyway, part of the estate planning we'd done after Dad's heart attack 2 years ago. That evening, while Aria was at her book club, I carefully removed the ring box from her jewelry drawer. The ring I'd spent months choosing, $8,000 of my carefully saved money, custom designed to her exact specifications. The insurance alone was costing me $120 a year. I'd worked overtime for 3 months to afford it, skipping lunches and canceling my gym membership. I drove to the bank in my Honda Accord, the same practical car I'd bought after the divorce when I was rebuilding my credit. The safety deposit box was in the basement vault, surrounded by concrete walls and the quiet hum of climate control. I placed the ring beside Great Aunt Lucille's Art Deco brooch and my grandmother's pearl necklace, taking photos with my phone for documentation, family history, just like Aria's locket. When she got home around 9:30, I was making dinner like normal. Grilled chicken and vegetables, the kind of healthy meal we'd gotten into the habit of sharing since she'd started talking about wanting to lose 10 pounds before the wedding. "Smells amazing," she said, kissing my cheek. The locket caught the kitchen light, a silver reminder of our conversation the night before. Still there, of course. "Thanks. Hey, I've been thinking about our conversation, about history and traditions." She looked wary, setting down her book club tote bag. "Yeah?" "I realized you're absolutely right. History is part of who we are, so I've decided to honor my family's traditions too." "What traditions?" "Well, in my family, engagement rings are kept in the family vault until the wedding day, for safekeeping. It's an old tradition." She laughed, the sound nervous and sharp. "What? No, it's not. Your brother wore his wife's ring the whole engagement. Different branch of the family. My great-aunt started this tradition after her ring was stolen in 1962. Since her collection is being passed down to you, we should honor her wishes." "Hudson, what are you talking about? Where's my ring?" "In the family safety deposit box with the other heirloom pieces. Don't worry, you'll get it back on our wedding day." Her face went through several emotions in rapid succession: confusion, realization, anger. She stood frozen in our kitchen, one hand unconsciously reaching for her throat where the locket rested. "You took my ring." "I secured our family heirloom, just like you secure your historical jewelry." "That's completely different." "How?" "Your locket has sentimental value from your past. The ring has sentimental value from my family's past. Both deserve respect, right?" "The ring is mine. You gave it to me. And Preston gave you that locket, yet you still wear it." "This is ridiculous. Give me my ring back." After the wedding, it's tradition. Hudson, I'm serious. Get my ring now. I can't. Bank's closed. Besides, it's family tradition. You wouldn't want me to disrespect my history, would you? She stared at me for a long moment, then grabbed her phone from the counter. I'm calling your mother. Go ahead. She did. Mom, bless her, played along perfectly. I could hear her voice through the phone, warm and convincing. Oh yes, dear. The family vault tradition. Very important to us. I'm so glad Hudson remembered. Lucille would be so proud. Aria hung up, defeated for the moment. She looked at me with something between anger and confusion, like she was seeing me for the first time. The next few days were tense. She kept demanding the ring back with increasing desperation. I kept calmly explaining it was tradition, my voice steady and reasonable. She wore the locket. I didn't have the ring. Fair's fair. But I could sense her frustration building. She started working late more often, claiming end-of-quarter deadlines at her marketing firm. She'd come home distracted, checking her phone constantly. The atmosphere in our house felt charged, like the air before a thunderstorm. Thursday was when everything changed. I came home early from work with what I told her was a migraine, but really, something had been nagging at me all week. Call it intuition, or maybe just the paranoia that comes from being betrayed before. I found Aria in our bedroom with a jewelry box I'd never seen before. It was wooden, with an ornate brass clasp, sitting open on our shared dresser like she'd been organizing its contents. Inside were more pieces I'd never seen. A bracelet with intricate silver links, diamond stud earrings that definitely weren't from her usual department store purchases, a tennis bracelet that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. What's all this? She jumped, slamming the box shut with guilty speed. Just organizing some old things. Organizing jewelry from Preston you never told me about? They're just mementos. From before. Mementos you keep in our bedroom. They don't mean anything. Then why keep them? Because they're mine. My history. I nodded, pulling out my phone with deliberate calm. More history. Let me help you preserve it properly. I started photographing the closed jewelry box, the angle of afternoon light streaming through our bedroom window. What are you doing? Documenting your historical collection, for insurance purposes. Hudson, stop. That's when I noticed something else. A man's watch in the box, visible through the gap before she'd snapped it shut. Definitely not Preston's style. Too modern, too sporty. A Tag Heuer, if I wasn't mistaken. The kind of watch that cost serious money. Whose watch? Nobody's. Aria, whose watch? Silence stretched between us like a held breath. Zane's. Who the hell is Zane? Just a friend. A friend who gives you watches? He left it here once. I forgot to return it. When was he in our house? The silence that followed felt heavy, loaded with implications I wasn't sure I wanted to explore. Aria, when was Zane in our bedroom? Last month, when you were at that conference in Denver. My blood went cold. The 3-day project management conference I'd attended reluctantly, spending my own money on the hotel because the company only covered partial expenses. I'd called her every night, missing her voice, eager to get back home. You had a man in our bedroom while I was gone? It's not like that. He was helping me move furniture. He took off his watch to lift heavy things. I looked around our bedroom. The dresser was exactly where it had been for 2 years, positioned against the wall because that's the only place it fit properly. The bed hadn't moved. Couldn't move without disassembling it first. Try again. She burst into tears, the kind of dramatic sobbing that had once made me rush to comfort her. Now it just felt manipulative. Why are you interrogating me? This is emotional abuse. Having a man in our bedroom while I'm gone and keeping his watch is concerning. That's not abuse. That's a reasonable question from someone who pays half the mortgage on this house. Nothing happened. Then call him right now. Put him on speaker. Ask for the watch back. I can't. Why? He's married now. It would be weird. Weirder than keeping his watch in your jewelry box next to your ex-boyfriend's gifts? She had no answer. That night, I made another decision. I took a personal day Friday, told Aria I still had the migraine. As soon as her Toyota Camry pulled out of our driveway at 8:15 a.m., I started my research. First, I went through her social media accounts. We followed each other on everything, so it wasn't snooping, technically. Deep dive through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Zayn appeared in photos from last year, mostly group shots from her company's holiday party and a few team-building events. But there were several that looked pretty intimate for just friends. His hand on her shoulder, both of them laughing at some inside joke, standing closer together than necessary. Found his profile, married 6 months ago to a woman named Rebecca. Beautiful wedding photos in Napa Valley, the kind of expensive affair that probably cost more than most people's cars. The timeline was interesting. He got married right around when I proposed to Aria. Then I found Preston. Still in Australia, very active on Instagram with 2,847 followers. His bio read, "Missing my American girl," with a heart emoji. The post was from last month, the same time I was in Denver. A photo of Sydney Harbor at sunset with the caption, "Waiting for the right moment to come home." I screenshotted everything, creating a folder on my phone labeled Documentation. Old habits from my business analyst days. Always keep records. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but don't regret. I checked our phone bill. We share a plan on Verizon, family account with unlimited data. I pay for it, $180 a month for both lines plus my upgrade insurance. All above board, my name on the account. The call logs told a story. Hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize over the past year. The Zayn timeline matched up perfectly with Rebecca's wedding timeline. Heavy texting until 6 months ago, then nothing. Like he got married and cut contact. But there was another number. International calls, recent ones lasting 30 to 45 minutes. Always when I was at work or the gym. Always on weekdays between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., which would be morning in Australia. I reverse searched the number online. Australian landline, Sydney area code. She was still talking to Preston. Regular calls while I was building our future, working overtime to afford our wedding, meeting with contractors about finishing the basement. I sat on our bedroom floor for a while, just processing. The same carpet where we'd made love, where we'd talked about having kids, where we'd planned our future. 3 years living together, sharing everything, and she's wearing his locket while having regular conversations with him. That evening I acted normal. Made dinner, salmon with that lemon herb seasoning she liked. Watched Netflix, went to bed. But I was planning. Saturday morning, she had plans with her girlfriends for brunch and shopping. Girls' Day, she called it, which usually meant she'd be gone until evening. Perfect timing. I went back to the bank, not for the ring, that was staying exactly where it was, but to add something else to the safety deposit box. A letter to myself, dated and notarized at the UPS store, documenting everything I'd found. Insurance for later, evidence that couldn't be deleted or destroyed. Then I made some calls. First, the venue, Riverside Gardens, where we'd put down a $3,000 deposit for next May. "Hi, this is Hudson Chambers. I need to check the refund policy for the Chambers Delacroix wedding." "Let me pull up your file." "Okay, you're outside the full refund window, but you can get 60% back if you cancel in the next 2 weeks. After that, it drops to 25%. "What if the bride cancels?" "Whoever signed the contract needs to cancel. I'd signed it because I was better with paperwork, more organized. She'd been grateful at the time. Perfect." Next, the photographer. Jessica Walsh Photography, $2,800 for the full package. You can get 70% back with 2 weeks' notice. The caterer. Morrison's Catering, $4,200 for dinner service for 120 guests. I'm sorry, but catering deposits are non-refundable after the 6-month mark. The band. Midnight Groove, $1,800 for 5 hours. Full refund if you cancel before the final payment date. I didn't cancel anything yet, but I made a list. Calculated the numbers. Total wedding costs, $14,800. Potential recovery with immediate cancellation, approximately $8,400. Not bad. Sunday, Aria noticed I wasn't wearing my engagement band. "Where's your ring?" "In the vault with yours, for safekeeping." "Hudson, this is getting ridiculous." "Is it? You're preserving your history with Preston's locket. I'm preserving our future with proper security. Both equally valid, right? They're not the same thing." "You're right. Your locket represents a relationship that ended. Our rings represent a relationship that's supposed to last forever. Or they did." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. just thinking about history versus future. She spent the rest of the day on her phone, typing frantically. I pretended not to notice, but I could see her stepping outside to make calls, pacing on our back deck. The Australian number, I was certain. Monday was when she made her big move. I came home from work to find her parents sitting in our living room like an intervention committee. Her father, a retired bank manager who'd always been cordial but distant, sat rigid in my favorite armchair. Her mother, a real estate agent who never quite approved of our house choice, perched on the edge of the sofa. "Hudson," her dad started, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to handling financial disputes. "Aria tells us you've taken her engagement ring." "I've placed it in our family vault per tradition, yes." "That's not normal, son. Neither is wearing your ex's locket every day while planning a wedding, but here we are." Her mom jumped in, her voice sharp with maternal protectiveness. "It's just jewelry. You're being controlling." Interesting perspective. So jewelry doesn't matter. Then why can't she take off the locket? That's different. How? They couldn't answer. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Aria started crying, the kind of performance tears that had once moved me to apologize for things that weren't my fault. Her dad tried the authority angle, standing up from the chair. "Give her the ring back, Hudson. Now." "No." "Excuse me?" I said no. "It's in safekeeping until the wedding, if there is one." "Are you threatening my daughter?" "I'm stating facts. Your daughter wears her ex's jewelry daily, keeps other men's items hidden in our bedroom, and has regular phone calls with the man who gave her the locket, the man in Australia. But I'm the problem for securing an expensive ring?" Silence fell over the room like a heavy curtain. Aria's face went white. "How do you know about the phone calls?" "Phone bills, Aria. I pay them. Your hour-long calls to Australia are right there in black and white. April 15th, 3:47 p.m., 42 minutes. April 22nd, 2:15 p.m., 38 minutes. Should I continue?" Her parents looked at her with dawning understanding. She stammered, "We're just friends. Preston and I are just friends. We talk about general things." "Friends who text missing my American girl. Those kinds of friends?" I pulled out my phone, showed them Preston's Instagram, the screenshots, the phone records with timestamps. "I'm not twisting anything. I'm just sharing documented history, since history is so important." They left shortly after, her mother's heels clicking angrily on our hardwood floors. Her father shook his head as they walked out, the disappointment clear in his expression. Aria was furious but also panicked, cornered. "You spied on me." I looked at publicly available information and bills I pay. That's called being responsible with shared finances. You're trying to ruin my life. I'm sharing evidence of choices you made. Interesting how you see that as ruining your life. Preston and I are just friends. The calls don't mean anything. Friends who talk for hours while your fiancé is at work, who exchange romantic messages, who gave you jewelry you refused to remove. Sure, just friends. Give me my ring back. No. I'll call the police. Do it. Explain to them how your fiancé secured a family heirloom in a family safety deposit box with proper documentation. I'm sure they'll rush right over. She didn't call. Instead, she gave me an ultimatum, her voice shaking with anger and desperation. "If you don't give me that ring back by tomorrow morning, we're done." "Okay." "Okay? That's it? What do you want me to say? You're threatening to end our engagement over me storing a ring safely while you wear another man's locket daily. The irony would be impressive if it weren't so sad." She stormed off to stay with her parents. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, I started the cancellation process. Venue canceled. Got $1,800 back from the $3,000 deposit. Photographer canceled. $1,960 refund from $2,800. Caterer canceled. Lost the entire $4,200 deposit. Band canceled. Full $1,800 refund. Total recovered $5,560 of the $12,800 I'd spent. Better than nothing. Then I texted Aria. "The engagement is off. Your belongings will be in boxes by the front door. You have 72 hours to collect them." She burst in 20 minutes later with her key. "What the hell, Hudson? You said if I didn't return the ring, we're done. I didn't, we're done." "I didn't mean it. I was upset. I'm following through. You wanted to end our engagement over the ring. It's ended. The ring stayed in the vault. The law was clear in our state. Engagement rings are conditional gifts. Condition being marriage, no ring. She tried everything over the next hour. Tears, threats, bargaining, even trying to seduce me while still wearing the locket. The audacity was breathtaking. Finally, she tried social media warfare, posted everywhere about how I'd stolen her ring, started a hashtag #Lockergate. So I responded with one public post. Interesting narrative. Here's mine. My ex-fiancée wore her ex-boyfriend's locket every day of our relationship, refused to remove it for our wedding, kept jewelry from multiple exes, and maintained regular contact with the man who gave her the locket. When I secured our engagement ring in my family's safety deposit box, she ended our engagement. The ring remains with my family heirlooms where it belongs. History matters. I attached Preston's Instagram post and one screenshot of the phone records. The tide turned immediately. Her friends started asking the right questions. 3 days later, Rebecca, Zane's wife, messaged me. She'd seen my post, wanted to talk. Zane had been working late around the time his watch went missing. She'd suspected but had no proof. I sent her everything. Rebecca confronted Zane. He confessed to an emotional affair with Aria that had almost turned physical. Rebecca filed for divorce. A week later, Preston reached out from Australia. "Mate, is this true about Aria being engaged? She told me you were just roommates." Roommates. I sent him our engagement announcement, photos from the proposal. He'd been saving money to move back for her, planning to propose. The locket arrived at my apartment a month later. No note, but I knew Preston had asked for it back. I donated it to a charity auction. It raised $800 for the local animal shelter. I'm doing well now. Started dating Celeste, a librarian who collects vintage books, not ex-boyfriend's jewelry. When I told her this story, she laughed until tears streamed down her face. She wore his locket during everything, even intimate moments, everything, and thought you were the problem? Apparently. You dodged a nuclear missile there, Hudson. The engagement ring stays in the family vault. Mom suggests having it reset someday for someone who deserves it. Someone who understands that history is important, but so is choosing what history to honor. History taught me that when someone shows you who they are, wearing another man's locket while planning your wedding, believe them the first time. The family vault is keeping that ring safe, right where it belongs. Part of my history now, not my future. And honestly, I've never been happier to pay that storage fee.